got that. Bum, bum. What else do I need? Oh. My head's kind of chopped off. Wait, hold on. Hola muchachos, welcome here. For today's video, we have a variety of things in front of me that I shall be using in order to make, we can kind of call it an American matcha latte iced, because this isn't exactly the Japanese way to do it. But I just kind of feel like having an iced version today. And I thought, while I did this, did I say hola muchachos? I don't remember. Hola muchachos, just in case I forgot. I would tell you guys how I got fired 3 times. I want everyone to realize, please, I'm not a bad worker. I know it can sound really bad to say that you're fired 3 times, but I'm kind of making this video to say exactly what happened, because I know that I've mentioned this a couple times. I've been asked to do a story time on this so many times, and I was like, let's just get this done. Let's do this. You guys are gonna kind of look into my job history, like previous, how I got to where I am now. A lot of it has to do with being fired 3 times and working online. So we're gonna make matcha and we're gonna talk. I hope you guys like this video. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe. I'm not a bad worker, don't think that. I feel like I'm gonna have to keep saying that, because that's just, I feel like I'm being judged, and I haven't even uploaded this yet. That's how bad this is. Let's go ahead and get started. I need to go get a spoon. I use the Bloom matcha, if you're curious. Only get a matcha that is sourced from Japan. We're gonna make this pretty strong. So if you want a little bit of like a job history, I feel like I actually started working around the age of either 9 or 10, maybe earlier than that. And it was working at a greenhouse, and it was a church friend's like greenhouse. Didn't get fired from that, but it was more like, it was honestly, it was being paid to play in a dirty playground. That's kind of what it felt like. Gonna add a little bit of hot water. Don't judge me how I make my matcha, it's different for everyone. I don't mind that I do it wrong. From there I did a bunch of can you hear me? From there I did like babysitting, nannying. I had a newspaper route with my siblings. I even remember getting in on my brother's cookie making business and making cookies and selling them. It was fantastic. From there I moved on to McDonald's. I worked there for just over 4 years through like high school and cosmetology school. Really enjoyed working at McDonald's. While I was working at McDonald's, I was in cosmetology school. I planned that when I got out of cosmetology, which is hairdressing school if you don't know, I'd go ahead and work at a hair salon. I ended up applying at one of the hair salons that I actually did my practicum at. They all just seemed to really like me. I felt like we all got along really well. I was not too sure about the manager. Should have just stuck with my gut and not done this, but I did this. I applied, I got the job, very happy and excited. Like this was I wouldn't say it was a nice salon, but it was definitely a step up from like a normal like great clips, like walk in, get your hair cut, come out kind of salon. This was like booking appointments. There was this huge kind of showcasing room with all the different products. It seemed pretty fancy on a minimum level. Does this make sense? I hope so. So I worked there, and let's just say it didn't work out. And before I go on, let me just specify, I think there is a difference between being fired from a job and being let go. And if we're thinking of that term, like of that sense, I was fired from 2 jobs, let go of 1. So I liked working at this hair salon. It was definitely different for me because, you know, I grew up being homeschooled, Christian, still a Christian, love the Lord, and I just was in an environment that was very different. Even more different than like just a regular McDonald's environment. It was a lot of like heavy drug stuff that was going on in this hair salon. Every weekend all the girls went out to party. There was always ladies' nights, and I just was never into that, and that never really interested me just personally. So I didn't do too much of that, but I did hang out with a lot of the girls, like just going out for like dinners. We did lots of shopping together, which was fun. So I think it was good for a time. It was definitely good for a time, very short amount of time. The girls were great, but the environment just wasn't my favorite. I don't think I felt uncomfortable with a lot of things that happened in this environment, but it wasn't things that I was wanting to be a part of or be around. The ladies there were fantastic. Some of them, not all of them, some of them. But when you get a bunch of girls together working in a salon, it gets really dramatic and so many emotions, and hormones are flying off the walls. There was actually a guy that worked there for a time. He was very cool and he was really gifted. Oh, I totally forgot about this. I kind of accidentally got him fired. Oh my gosh, I forgot about this. Oh my gosh. Here's the thing. He was going to leave anyways, and he was actually happy that he got fired, and it wasn't me like calling him out or anything. It was the manager being very particular about who worked in different parts of the salon, and she just apparently liked me more than him, and she wanted me to have his chair, and I got his chair, and he got kicked out, and I didn't know about this until later. And I talked to him later, and all this happened, and anyway, he makes a lot of money money now. He owns his own salon and he's a nice guy. So totally forgot about that. I felt bad for a second and then I realized everything's fine. I ended up getting fired because what happened between me and that guy also happened between another girl and me. The lady that owned the salon wanted you to kiss her butt. If you weren't talking the talk and walking the walk and polishing her shoes on a daily basis, she didn't want any part of you. So I didn't last too long because I don't like appeasing people in that way. I'm just gonna add a little bit more milk and make it a little frothier. So I ended up getting replaced by another person and she said, Sarah, you're fired and you need to leave right now. So that's pretty much how I got fired from the first job. Didn't really feel like I was losing out on anything. It wasn't that big of a deal. I remember, whoa, slippery. I remember crying and crying when I lost that job, and Kieran was dating me at the time and he was like, Sarah, it's all good, you're gonna be all good. I was sad and I was pretty disappointed in myself, and then I realized that I got out of a very bad toxic work environment and I couldn't be too sad about that. So even though, yes, I was fired from that job, I was glad to be out of there and I was able to move on from there, and I was hoping for better things to come, but they didn't come just yet. Moving on, my next job was another hairdressing job, and it was actually in a retirement home. I was doing the hair of all these old ladies with like very little hair. I don't recall any of them having a lot of hair. Perming their hair, doing roller sets, really the same thing over and over and over again. None of them tipped more than $1. I remember getting a 25-cent tip, and the woman really felt like I was taking part of her soul. And they don't do it because they're not happy with the job that you did, but I feel like the reason they don't tip that much is just because back in the day, maybe $1 was a lot, you know? I loved working at this job. The old people were really sweet. I had incredible conversations with them, and I did not work here that long at all because this is where I was let go. I wasn't fired, I was let go along with a lot of other people. The retirement home was making a bunch of cuts in workers here and there, and it just so happened that I was one of them, as well as I think like 50 other people. So I was let go of this job. When they sat me down and talked to me about leaving, it was sweet and compassionate, and it wasn't all of a sudden like, you're fired, get out. It was, Sarah, this is the situation and we're sad about it and we have to let you go and we're really sorry. That didn't feel like firing. I was let go of that job, and I remember, I think every single time I got fired, I called my sister almost right away. I remember calling my sister again and crying and just being like, why can't I hold a job? Am I a bad worker? And she was like, no. She's like, not at all. It's just the situation that you're in. This is what's happening. She's like, you need to move on from here. God has good things for you. And I remember her telling me that, Sarah, trust in God, he has good things for you. So I was like, okay, now what? Maybe hairdressing doesn't work for me. Maybe I should just move on from hairdressing. I applied to, does anyone know what Value Village is? Value Village is a thrift store. I applied to a Value Village thrift store. It was like a newer store opening up. I just wanted to be a worker, and they made me a supervisor. That's kind of intense. Like, are you sure? And they were like, yeah, we want you as a supervisor. So I was like, okay, sure, I'll be a supervisor. We'll see what happens. I was a team leader at McDonald's, which is one step down from a supervisor. And I think that's why they kind of thought maybe I could be a supervisor, because I've been in that kind of role previously. A couple things didn't work out here in the sense that they didn't train me. They trained me on some things for sure. They didn't train me on like safety stuff, which really sucked because they put me in charge of the safety committee. So I remember people coming in and checking on safety stuff and being like, what are you doing? Like, don't you know what your job is? And they'd be talking to me and I was like, no, I don't. Like, no one's taught me any of this. I even remember in my training booklet going through everything, and then they were like, oh, we're just gonna skip over the safety section, not gonna worry about it right now. And then they just never decided to worry about it and then put me in charge of safety. So I was like, okay, we're all gonna die. We'd have safety audits, and I'm going through the book by myself, but a lot of things say, make sure to refer to your manager, make sure to talk to this person about this to get more info, and no one was telling me anything. We are in a very unsafe situation. Whose idea was this? This wasn't my idea. I stepped down from being the safety person because I didn't feel safe, because I didn't know what everyone was expecting of me. But just so you know, like the people I worked with, like the team kind of underneath me, were incredible. I remember so many incredible people that I worked with, hung out with, that I dearly loved and love, that I still think of. Even if I haven't seen them in years, I still think of them with like fond memories. So many of the girls and the guys there were just spot on phenomenal. I knew that, and I really hope they knew that because they were so good. The management was a gong show. So the worst part of management is that they didn't do anything. All they did was sit in their little cubicle and watch us on the security cameras. Has anyone worked in an environment where you're just being watched on security cameras and no one in management is helping you? They're just watching you. I speak my mind, absolutely, but I try not to always speak it in a really negative way, especially in the workplace. There came this point where I was kind of going crazy. Long story short, they were catching some evidence of me looking very suspicious on the security cameras. They were recording that footage and they saved it all to a disc. Things that I looked at, I didn't think it was sketchy. I didn't think that it was sketchy at all. After like, I'm pretty sure the third disc, I was kind of like, is this a joke? Like, why aren't you working? Like, all you're doing is just creating these discs of what I'm doing through my day. So one day I was randomly called up to the office. At this point, I actually put in my notice. I was really close to being done working at Value Village. I was gonna like peace out of there. I already had my notice put in. They brought me upstairs and they fired me and they asked me to leave immediately. And I was like, dude, you have my notice. Like, I'm out of here in like a week. You want me out that bad? Because the thing is, when you get fired, you get like 2 or 3 weeks of extra pay, which is what I got. And I was like, why didn't you just wait till I was gone and then you didn't have to pay me extra to leave? Like, they must have really wanted me out of there. And I was like, sweet, like, peace. They asked me not to talk to anyone else and I was like, you know what? You're not in charge of me anymore. I'm gonna say goodbye to all my coworkers because they're my friends and I love them and I hang out with them. I'm just gonna say goodbye, see you later kind of thing. So I went downstairs and I walked through the areas I was allowed to walk through. They were watching me on the security cameras. It was crazy. I said goodbye to my friends. A lot of them were like, Sarah, we're walking out with you, we're leaving with you, because everyone knew this place was absolutely horrible to work in. And I was like, no, I was like, don't. It was seriously very, very cool that they were so willing to do that. Like, people were already packing up their stuff and wanting to leave. And I was like, don't do it. Don't do it. Just stay here, keep doing your thing. Don't lose your job because of me. I'm not sad that I'm leaving. I think if it was a really bad situation, not like this was a good situation, but if it was really bad, then I would have been like, yeah, let's all just go. But it wasn't that bad. So I left. Later found out from one of my coworkers that I worked with, the reason I was fired from that job, this is what I was told. There was another store that I knew and that I mildly worked at as another Value Village worker while I was working at this other location. Like, I kind of went back and forth a little bit. They wanted to hire me as like the head supervisor and my main store would have to give me up in order to do that. And there was another girl in that store that was wanting that position. A lot of people kind of like, Sarah, we're feeling kind of threatened, so we're just gonna fire her and we're gonna forget about her, get her out of here. I felt like I was being set up. That's actually what I felt like. I remember calling my sister again and being like, you're not gonna believe this. I got fired for a third time. Called my husband and I remember walking down this beautiful road, calling him on the phone. I just had to get out and walk and he was at work and I called him and I said, Kieran, I'm not gonna work for anyone anymore. I need to work for myself. I don't think I'm a bad worker, but I feel like one because this is just periodically happening. I don't feel appreciated and I need to take control of what I do work-wise. And at this time, throughout this whole period, I was doing YouTube mostly just for fun. It wasn't as an income. And from that moment on, we decided to have kids early, pronto, if I was going to just be staying at home anyways, making YouTube videos. So that's how I came to where I'm at now. That's how Ivy came about. We decided that I would stay at home and work on my YouTube channel and online stuff, get a feel for it, try to make an income from it, start having children, and get started on that part of our life now. I was very thankful that I was fired from all those jobs because it brought me to where I am here. But I guess this video, if we're gonna look past it as just a storytime video, look at this video as you're in a bad place, you don't know what to do, what is going on with your life. Look up from this. Know that you got to go through this to get to where you need and want to be. So I had to go through all those things to realize that this is where I want to be. This is where I am most happy and very successful, I think. I'm thankful to the Lord. I'm thankful to my husband who seriously lets me do this, to say I'm not working anymore, I'm staying at home, we're gonna have children and I'm gonna work online. A lot of husbands would be like, I don't know. But Kieran was like, you got this. Continuing on the journey to seeing what the Lord has in store for you. Thank you for watching today's story time. I hope you liked it. I hope you like matcha, and be sure to subscribe to my channel if you are new here and if you want to see more story times. I love you all so much and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.